I have some unbelievable news when it comes to Aerodrome. Now, what is that? We take a look at this, right? We'll see that when it comes to assets under consideration, what does it say when it comes to Grayscale, which pretty much is one of the biggest things out there? Yes, you saw that right. It's Aerodrome. This is how amazing it is. You got to think about how when it comes to Grayscale, just to visualize as to the scale of its size, so to speak, you take a look at, for instance, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which, by the way, currently holds a little bit over 220,000 Bitcoin, which, by the way, considering the current value of Bitcoin, that's around $14.5 billion. This is how insane Grayscale is. I mean, it's completely massive. So, of course, when they have something, that's under consideration when it comes to assets, and it says Aerodrome, of course, that's very massive news, in my opinion. And I think this, if anything, showcases just how special Aerodrome is. You got to think about how when it comes to Aerodrome, it doesn't have the established nature of like a Uniswap or a Pancake Swap. Oftentimes people view those two as like the premier decentralized exchange. But when it comes to Aerodrome, despite relatively being up and coming, it's still already considered by Grayscale. This is how amazing it is. And now, of course, is this a guarantee that, Grayscale is going to start acquiring Aerodrome's native token called AERO? Again, no. But in my opinion, this is a great sign nonetheless, because if they're under consideration, that sometimes is already enough to change the mindset and the sentiment of people. Because if you think about it, many projects out there that never even launch, let's say a blockchain game, that never even launch a metaverse or even launch an NFT project, even though they say they want to, even despite not doing that, we've seen time and time again, some projects, they've gone all the way to a different dimension, even despite, again, never launching anything. So I think this right here is good in both ways, because if anything, let's say it's under consideration by, Grayscale, it's massive news nonetheless. If they, let's say, never acquire it, it's still amazing news nonetheless, because again, it changes the mindset and the sentiment of people. Because in order to have something under consideration by Grayscale, it first, I think, has to go through a lot of due diligence, because something that massive isn't going to just, consider things out on a whim. You know what I mean? It's just not like this retail person, type in a way and be like, oh yeah, let's consider this meme coin, this meme coin. No, that's not the case. And now, of course, there is a third possibility, in which case, Grayscale starts acquiring, Aerodrome's native token called AERO. That could happen as well, which of course would be the ultimate cherry on top, if you know what I mean. So either way, I think this is very fantastic news when it comes to Aerodrome. Now, some people out there, they're kind of surprised by this, but to me, I don't really find it that surprising, because if you take a look at it, Aerodrome, it's a decentralized exchange on the Base network. You got to consider how the Base network is Coinbase's layer 2 network. That's how massive, the Base network is. Sometimes people don't understand that, because yes, is it like the most massive, layer 2 network out there? Absolutely not. In my opinion, arguably speaking, in terms of like, the reputable nature, so to speak. But again, when Coinbase has a layer 2 network and there's a decentralized exchange this amazing on there, of course I'm going to believe it. And by the way, when it comes to Aerodrome's native token called AERO, I still think that $25, that's my price target for AERO during this bull run. Now, again, some people may think this is crazy, but now that we have, this Grayscale news, so to speak, right? Also, on top of that, the recent performance when it comes to AERO, when it comes to all of this, is it really that crazy? No, I don't think so. Because, even when I said this, right, people were saying, oh, wow, Aerodrome is caca, it's trash. But I think sometimes they haven't taken into consideration just how special Aerodrome actually is again. And it's not like $25 is this crazy nonsense thing. It's because you take a look at, if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $16 billion. It's not too bad. First of all, we've seen Dogecoin reach over 80 billion. We've seen SHIB reach around 40 billion. And also on top of that, we've seen Uniswap's native token called Uni reach around 22.5 billion. Now, this was back in 2021. So it's not like a $16 billion market cap is too much to ask for. At least that's the way I take a look at it. Especially when I consider the trajectory of the decentralized finance market, which of course, something like Aerodrome does fall under, the category of that. We take a look at how, again, the DeFi market, aka the decentralized finance market, again, that right there is predicted to be worth over $200 billion by 2030, according to Grand V Research. So it's not even really that far away. I mean, we're so close to 2025. So that's like, 5 years away at this point? That's insane, in my opinion. And I think something like Grayscale understands this, because they understand that, hey, when it comes to DeFi, it's not over. The hype didn't disappear after 2021. I think they understand that, there's brighter days ahead, because, I think sometimes people, they're just tired of dealing with centralized finance. there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, in a major way, I would say. But again, when there's decentralized finance, that could very well be the next evolution because, of course, the decentralized aspect, people like that a lot better. And again, something like Aerodrome, I believe, could be one of the major players when it comes to this DeFi space because, again, it's on the right place, on the base network, and also on top of that, fundamentally amazing. So I don't see why it would do bad at all. Granted, there are many decentralized exchanges out there. I'm not saying that Aerodrome is going to go up and the rest are all going to go down. No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Aerodrome is going to do well hypothetically, but I think a lot of other decentralized exchanges, they're going to do well as well because many of them are actually not that bad, if you really think about it. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes people don't really consider that, this bull run could be amazing because they think that 2021 was the best, all this type of stuff. But as of right now, there's over 600 million crypto owners, so that's amazing. Now, this is, of course, according to Crypto.com research. Also, on top of that, you take a look at the Bitcoin ETF, also the Ethereum ETF, which is massive, by the way, not only for the crypto space, but also for Aerodrome. Because if you think about it, again, Aerodrome is a decentralized exchange on the base network. But the amazing thing about the base network is that, again, it's a layer 2. So basically what this does is that it allows Ethereum to be enjoyed while at the same time not having to deal with its crazy nonsense. Like, for instance, sky-high gas fees and, the scalability issues, arguably speaking, of course. So that's how amazing a layer 2 is. And again, granted, there's many layer 2s out there, like, for instance, Optimism, Arbitrum. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? But in my opinion, the base network could very well be one of the premier players moving forward because, again, it has that Coinbase aspect to it. And not to mention, I did say how, Optimism is one of the biggest Ethereum layer 2s out there. And funnily enough, the base network is actually built in collaboration with Optimism. So that's fantastic news right there. So if you think about it, as Ethereum grows, it would only make sense that, an amazing Ethereum layer 2, for instance, would grow as well. So I don't think Base would do bad. And also on top of that, if Base were to grow along with Ethereum, I think that naturally, of course, something on there, much like Aerodrome, is going to, join that ride as well. So any way I view it, I don't think it's bad at all. When it comes to the Ethereum ETF, I think it's very fantastic news when it comes to Aerodrome and also the crypto space overall. So again, when I take all of those into consideration, again, the Bitcoin ETF, over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research. When I take all of that into consideration, I could very well see, Bitcoin going to the price of at least, let's say, $150,000 during this bull run. And I think if it were to do that, it would only be fair to assume that, altcoins, much like AERO, they're going to go along with the ride. So at that point, $25 really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I think Aerodrome is very underrated, very overlooked, but I think sometimes people don't consider this. And I'm so surprised that, this Grayscale, announcement, so to speak, in a sense, isn't as, talked about because people oftentimes like to say that Aerodrome is special, all this type of stuff, but they don't really take this into consideration. And I think that, if anything, showcases how a lot of people out there, they just believe in hype, really. They don't really care about the fundamentals, all this type of stuff. But personally, for me, I take a look at the fundamentals. I take a look at, hey, what is the future of Aerodrome? I'm not here treating it like a meme coin. That's just the way I take a look at it. And by the way, when it comes to Aerodrome, it's not like we have to wait like years down the line or something like that, because typically altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they usually peak around a year and a half after a Bitcoin halving event, which would be around October of next year, by the way, because the last Bitcoin halving event did happen back in April. Now, again, this is a worst case scenario, could happen a lot sooner, but again, that if anything showcases how it's not even really that far away at this point. I think Aerodrome still has a bright future ahead. And by the way, if you want to know other DeFi projects that I'm holding in my portfolio, if you want me to review your portfolio, and if you want to know my exit strategy in great detail when it comes to Aerodrome's native token called AERO, feel free to join the Discord. The link is in the description below if you want to. And also on top of that, feel free to also become a channel member if you want to as well. That way I can prioritize responding to your comments. However, besides that point, when it comes to Aerodrome, I think the future is so bright. I think the DeFi space still has a lot of room to grow. I think the base network is fantastic. So again, AERO at the price of $25 during this bull run, that right there wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I believe in it. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I think brighter days are ahead. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.